Despite this being a prototype of the first ever watch he designed and produced, Craig Golby's first steps towards turning the hobby into a business happened 2 years ago. On the back of the success of his watch strap store and hoping to emulate greats such as Vario or Albert Villa who have started off in similar fashion, Craig has set out to have his dream materialize before the end of 2023. The result is a 41 by 50mm adventure watch whose emphasis is clearly on practicality. Don't get me wrong, there are enough dial stylistic choices to match most aesthetic preferences, but the case of the watch is as utilitarian as they come. And considering its purpose, there's really no need for fancy chamfers and polished extravaganzas. I would have probably preferred a steel case back, helping with slimming the watch down to under 13mm, but at least the NH35's rotor is customized. The screw-down crown is well proportioned and facilitates the easy operating of the caliber by providing good feedback. I just wish better attention was paid to lining it up to the other crown positioned at 2 o'clock, the one that operates the inner rotating bezel. Speaking of the secondary crown, its action is purposeful and despite not being secured into place, it didn't move inadvertently during the time spent on my wrist. Benefiting from a 1mm overhang that makes operating it really easy from pretty much any angle, the bezel of this timepiece is one of the features that will see a change in its production run, as it will benefit from a 120 clicks rotation while keeping its ceramic insert. The chosen type of insert further emphasizes this is not really a diver's watch, but rather an all-rounder. Therefore, instead of the usual diving markings, this is a countdown timer that is way more useful for the majority of potential customers. There are 2 color variants to the insert, matching the ones of the chosen dial. Under the AR-coated flat sapphire crystal, the dial presents a nicely textured, wavy surface evocative of Omega's Seamaster or more recently Henry Archer's Aqua. Leading to it, the steep rehaut serves 2 purposes. The first one is purely aesthetic as its color matches the outlines of the hands and is the differentiator between the 6 variants of the Aquareef. The second, or functionally speaking the first task the rehaut is accomplishing, is enabling its owner to track a secondary time zone by using the crown positioned at 2 o'clock. I've handled a few share of friction bidirectional rehauts, and I have to say Golby have nailed its action by tightening it up just enough to ensure precise, easy adjustment. In case you haven't met this type of markings before, once adjusted, it will allow reading the secondary time zone at a glance. On this prototype, the glance turns into more of a stare because of the small font used, but on production models, legibility will be improved thanks to using larger numerals. One other thing I would have liked to see enlarged is the size of the applied markers. Both width and lengthwise, I personally think they're 2/3 of the size they should be and leave just a bit too much empty dial estate. The minutes track incorporates sub-second divisions, and I'm happy to report the date window integration is well conceived and executed, matching the color of the dial in both the white and the black variants. The printing under the pinion is well executed and 3 lines of text do their best to counterbalance the logo applied under the 12 o'clock index. Speaking of the logo, it has drawn in some criticism from prospective backers due to the perceived oversizing and blockiness, but to me, it looks just fine. For what it's worth, it reminds me of the Scurfa logo and I don't believe it looks out of place. My initial impression was that the hands, particularly the one indicating the minutes, are marginally too thin, but especially after comparing the white dial variants with the black ones, it became apparent that it was rather due to their shape and lume application scheme. Speaking of the lume, I have to admit this is my first experience with the RT9 Japanese compound, and while not on par with Superluminova's BGW9 quality, I believe it would have fared quite alright if only the surfaces it has been applied to were larger. I also find the omission of applying lume on the white bezel unforgivable. You just can't put up a collection where half of the models are missing a feature present on the other half, and I hope this will be addressed on the production run. The oyster bracelet of the Aquareef is still work in progress, as the protruding male endlings of this prototype will be replaced by female endlings, making for a more fluent line. Its fit and finish are similar to the one the Helm Miyako comes equipped with, but I'm really happy to report that unlike the American Diver's bracelet, this one tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to 16mm at the clasp. Speaking of the clasp, this is another forte of the watch, offering generous on-the-fly micro-adjustment covering a full link's length and contributing to a comfortable wearing experience. The bracelet is also equipped with a quick-release system that makes taking it off and putting it back on easy and helps me introducing a perk Craig is offering during the Kickstarter campaign. Every supporter will have the opportunity to buy one of the Golby's premium FKM straps at a 45% discount. Also, the price for meeting the campaign's stretch goal is the nice travel pouch here. Golby's strap store has nice inventory, so I'll leave a link to it in the description of the video under the link leading to the Kickstarter campaign. So, before the verdict, here's a quick list of things that will benefit from improvement over this prototype. Although I'm already quite pleased with the current anti-reflective properties of the sapphire crystal, additional layers of AR coating will be added to its underside. The size of the numerals will be increased, offering better legibility. New female endlings will ensure better integration. So, what's the verdict? Is this a watch one should avoid, consider, shortlist, or straight up buy? I guess it, as always, really depends on what one is actually looking for. My opinion is this watch is clearly mislabeled as a diver. Every single box enthusiasts consider essential for a watch dedicated to marine exploration is half-checked at best, so divers aficionados would be better off looking elsewhere. However, the Aquareef combines quite a few aesthetic and, more importantly, functional features in a compact tool watch that benefits from an original design and a fair price, so those leaning more towards practicality than insisting on bells and whistles that amount to nothing in real-world use will find value here, particularly on the black dial versions. I therefore believe the least these potential customers should do is to consider the Aquareef. I personally am applauding this and cheering for it not for being a debut, but for being a true expression of its designer's personality, and I hope to be able to review a sophomore release down the line. Until then, please consider subscribing to the channel, giving me the opportunity to help you get the watch you want.